It's important to have fun. And I think that's like the topic of this thing. Like, yeah, we're all very type A, accomplished students, and that's awesome. And we're all gunning for these great jobs, and we're professionally ambitious. But you need to have fun, and you need to like find the joy as much as you can, because this is a difficult, time-consuming experience. And I think that's what like all of us are representing here. And so I don't know. I just think that's important. And I think Michigan does that really well.
Welcome back to Business Beyond Usual. My name is Aishwarya Dhume, and we're recording live from the Raw School of Business once again. I'm here with Mark O'Connell, and today we're going to be talking about what is unique to the Ross culture.
Before we get started, we want to encourage you to get in touch. We always love engaging with our listeners, and we'd love to hear from you. Send us a message at bbupodcast@umich.edu. Again, that's bbupodcast@umich.edu. Follow us on Instagram at our handle Ross_BBU. Again, that's Ross_BBU. And feel free to DM us there as well. Ask us questions, suggest episode topics, or just say hello.
So when students are thinking about applying to business schools, and when they think about Ross, let's see what Ross is known for. It's collaborative and close-knit culture, our love for football, and our very famous maize and blue colors. Now that I'm done with my first day, I've been looking back and thinking, what is truly unique to Ross's culture that's different from other business schools?
Yeah, as I think about like what is unique at Ross and what is different about Ross, I think of like the Colombia trip for spring break, which is obviously a top tier experiences, but it's not really unique to Ross. Same thing happens. We do like trips to Japan. That's awesome, but also not necessarily unique to Ross. We recruit consulting and banking. Well, every business school does that. And so what I think about is like the real experiences that are unique to Ross. And what I think about are like the bus tailgate for every home football game on Saturdays, graduation and disorientation that we do for the graduating MBA 2s, and then rooting and cheering on our very own Ross band.
Indeed, we do. Today, we're taking a break from the books to talk about what's fun at Ross. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests today who are experts on all of these things that we just talked about. Grant Potts, Macey Guthery, Rachel Schulingkamp representing the bus, Brian Wu from Risky Business, and Tyler Ringler from MBSA. Thank you guys for joining us. To get us started, it'd be awesome if you could introduce yourselves. And last time I said for the 30th time at Ross, so this time for the 31st time at Ross, share a fun fact about yourself.
I can go first. My name is Grant Potts, MBA 2. And my fun fact is kind of interesting. I mentioned I was from Indiana earlier. My dad and I started doing scuba diving lessons when I was like 7. And we practiced in this swimming pool. And for like the final test, we had to like go out into this like open water like lake, and I was terrified to do that, and so I didn't pass my scuba diving lesson. So I was like, I guess that's my fun fact is like I'm like a near scuba diver from Indiana.
I didn't know this about you.
Yeah. That's tough.
It's a long story.
Okay, next episode will be about that.
That's so funny. So I'm Macey Guthery. I'm on the bus with Grant, and I've known him for a long time. He's actually one of the first people I met at Ross. It was at Bill's beer garden. And my fun fact was going to be that I'm an advanced scuba diver. I was so excited that we were going to go on a scuba trip together. So.
I'm willing to try again.
Okay.
My name's Tyler Ringler, and I think my fun fact would be my last high school wrestling match was against a future Olympic bronze medalist. So I wasn't good, but I lost to someone good.
Dang, that's really cool. I'm Brian Vu, MBA 1 from Risky. I am not super athletically prowess like that, although I wish I was. My fun fact is I did a tour of West Side Story, the musical, and I was Riff, and we were rehearsing the Rumble with Bernardo one day, and I thought, yeah, I can like jump up, do the scissor kick, and when that happens, you're supposed to like land on the ground with your hands. My face hit the floor, and my right front tooth just went flying across the room. And like, I wasn't worried for my health. The first thing that went through my mind was, I will never be cute again. Yeah. Luckily, I have a new crown in there, so thanks, dentistry.
I'm Rachel Schulingkamp, MBA 1 on the bus. My fun fact is, I mentioned earlier, I'm from New Orleans, and my mom organizes Mardi Gras float every single year. And so I've ridden with her, I want to say like 6 or 7 times at this point, and pretty consecutively, I want to say for like the last 4 or 5 years. So
It's kind of like the bus.
it kind of is. I put that in my bus application. We'll chat about it. But
Which is kind of the perfect segue. Grant, Macey, Rachel, we're going to get started with the bus, which is one of my favorite events at Ross. And it's certainly iconic, part of the experience. Can you tell us a story of how, like, to the best of your knowledge, how did the bus get started? And what is it like being on the team that runs that show for 5 straight weeks this season?
I can get us started a little bit with the history. Admittedly, it's not perfectly documented, but yeah, our understanding is like it was like 20, 21 years ago. There was a group of students at Ross who wanted to take advantage of the tailgate and football culture at the school, but we didn't have like formal mechanism to do that. So I guess they just, being the business students that they were, they decided to like go all in on a bus. I do know, because founders will come back to the bus and tell us bits and pieces of this story. I know that in the beginning, the initial founders all put in money on their own to buy this bus. That has since changed. But yeah, they bought the bus, and then I don't know where the tailgate lot was, but they started it.
It used to be pretty far away, I think. So it's an ever-evolving situation. I know it almost died like 2 years ago. It was run by one person only. So this is the second bus that we've had. It has over 1 million miles on it. It's...
What? A million?
Yeah. It's so funny being on the exec board, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit more, but like, people don't know what it takes to run the bus. Like earlier this year, like it caught fire.
What?
Like, we found it with like dirt plugged in the tailpipe. It's a madhouse, but it's so much fun, and we have such a great team. Like there's about, how many do we have? 9 people on exec, and we've all gotten so close being able to be a part of it. And like Grant alluded to, alumni come back, and the entire inside is filled with signatures of the previous bus boards and whatnot. So we've been excited to like change it a little bit. Like each exec gets to make it their own. We brought pizza this year, which everybody's been big fans of, and we elevated the keg selection. So,
which I think has been appreciated.
Yeah, very appreciated.
I hope so.
But the bus, so we, on average, we have, imagine a tailgate where 600 of your classmates are there. Their friends are coming and visiting. Families come by. Alumni reach out to us, coming back. The previous bus board has been back several times this year. We can't get rid of them. And the bus has been retrofitted to where people who have signed a waiver can dance on top of it, which gets a lot of energy going. And when we have our classmates that are DJs and just spin sick beats each weekend.
So, what's the story behind why only specific people can be on top of the bus? Because I know there's always a fight for it. So what's the history behind that?
Well, it's a liability. So, you can't have
health reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not exactly, it's plywood on top of a rounded top of a bus. So I think it's we have security now. It's a liability. Like it's for people's safety. So only 8 people are allowed up there at a time. But and we're quite frankly, there are libations happening at the bus. So you don't want just anyone getting up there. So, and it's part of a privilege. There's a lot of work that goes into running the bus that's not seen, like keg runs. Like last year, Grant and I had our Jeeps instead of a U-Haul. We loaded our Jeep Wranglers up with all the kegs and drove them to the GBR bus. So a lot of hard sweat and tears, but it's magic every Saturday whenever we get to see the community that it creates.
Rachel, as the MBA 1 on the bus crew that we have represented here today, is the bus everything that you dreamed it would be, or what were your thoughts walking into the experience?
So first of all, when people talked about the bus beforehand, people didn't, they don't explain it. They just say the bus. So I thought it was like a giant bus that we all rode to the game in together. And I was just like, how big is this bus? Like, how does this work? In my head, I was like, oh, cool. We're all going to be like in these like bus seats just drinking. I don't know why that was where my mind went. I thought it was a transportation situation.
It actually used to be.
Really?
They used to drive it around and like get
And, like,
people
pick
hyped
people up.
and pick people
Yeah,
up
they would pick
and take it
people
to
up.
them.
Okay.
Yeah. But it just barely drives now. So like it would be hard.
It's also full of stuff. So, but yeah, once obviously I joined bus crew before, even the first bus happened. So kind of joined it just thinking, I don't really know what this is yet, but seems like fun. People throw things off the top of the bus. Like there was a GIF or something in one of the emails, and someone was throwing T-shirts off the top. And I was just like, I do that every year in Mardi Gras. I always throw things to people off the top of vehicles. Like I can do this. And I think showing up to the bus happy hour, I met a couple people that I'm still really close with. And like, I literally had this moment where I was like, oh, these are like, okay, I'm so glad I joined this because I'm so glad I met these people. Like, these are like my people. So there's that like more personal aspect. But yeah, showing up to the bus, I actually missed the first bus because it was my mom's birthday. But kind of showing up to the first one and just seeing the energy. I showed up with like glitter all over because I just like to do like something a little special with like the look every single time. And yeah, just kind of seeing it's all in like one spot, but there's so many different things. Like you can go get on top of the bus if you're part of the exec, obviously. You don't need to go with a group of friends. You just show up and like, that you're going to have a good time. You're going to run into people. I've talked to more new people that I didn't know at the bus than any other party, just because you both end up at the keg and then you just kind of, chat. And so I end up, talking to a friend of someone in the program, and I haven't even met the person in the program, but me and their friends are friends now. So yeah, just like the community and the social aspect is very unique there, as opposed to just like any old party.
Did you know what the bus was whenever you joined?
I did, because one of my good friends was at Ross at the time, so I visited him quite a bit, and I had seen the bus. But if it wouldn't have been for him, I don't think I would have had like a crystal clear idea about what it was.
No, because the bus volunteer applications go out during orientation, so you don't know anything yet, and you're just drinking from a fire hose at that point. And I had never been to Michigan. I had not known anything about Michigan football whatsoever. And somebody was like, "You should do the bus," and I'm like, "I'm a yes girl," so I just kind of I did, and I'm so happy I did. But you don't know what you're getting yourself into for sure.
So neither of you knew about the bus when you were applying to Michigan. You've not heard of it. Yeah, I didn't know either, actually.
No, the person who I interviewed with mentioned the bus. I think that may have been because I applied third decision like very quickly. So I hadn't talked to like a ton of people at Ross. And so I think it was my interviewer who first mentioned the bus. And that was like when I first got the image of a bunch of people in a bus.
Which I guess is like the point of why we're talking about it now. But I think it really should be something that is promoted, because I guess, and it kind of ties into the question of, what the bus means to you. But I think for me, I went to a small liberal arts college. I did not have the Big Ten football sports experience. And it was one of the like driving factors as to like why I chose Ross over some other schools. And so I think for me, the bus, I think, just represented like the community of it for sure. But B, like whether you like love football and you're like Tyler, who's loved Michigan football for his whole life, or for me, who like just started kind of liking it and can't really talk too much about football. I'm way
You'll learn today.
I'm way better though than I used to. Jeez, I have a lot of the terms. Whether you like it, like love football, or you don't, it's really like an opportunity to just be with your classmates, and it's a space that's dedicated to full-time MBAs. And I think that's really important when you are at a school like Ross, where you share the building. Like that's a reality of going to Ross. You are going to share the building with undergrads, and so the extent to which I think you can have full-time MBA only spaces to just get to know each other, I think is really important, and I love that.
On that note, though, the other thing that it's a privilege that we have a space and people like you guys to put it on for us. I think there's everything at other schools is pretty unique. I bet everyone has little traditions here and there, but I haven't heard of anything at a top program that rivals something like the bus that is just purely run for students, by students, and just for the benefit of us, not for the benefit of you. I mean, it's a lot of time and effort from your club, for MBSA, for Risky. We do this because we love it and we want our classmates to enjoy it. So it's really a passion. but a privilege as well.
I think it's important to have fun. And I think that's like the topic of this thing. Like, yeah, we're all very type A, accomplished students, and that's awesome. And we're all gunning for these great jobs, and we're professionally ambitious. But you need to have fun, and you need to like find the joy as much as you can, because this is a difficult, time-consuming experience. And I think that's what like all of us are representing here. And so I don't know. I just think that's important. And I think Michigan does that really well.
Absolutely agreed. Like the fun part, especially, like I've been talking to a lot of my classmates. My birthday was 2 weeks ago and I turned 35, and a lot of people can't like believe that.
Your skin is so perfect for 35. Are you kidding me?
I would not have believed that.
I mean, listen, a 6-step skincare routine and like hydration helps. But also like I really believe like having fun or like having a sense of humor in life is essential to like looking and feeling youthful. And so the bus definitely is part of that. So I think it's such a great thing that we have here at Ross.
I love that. Yeah. I would like to specify it is not actually officially associated with this Ross School of Business. It's a nonprofit technically, so completely separate. Also, back to the other business schools don't have it. We're playing Northwestern coming up, and I think we have like maybe 80 Northwestern kids coming here. So we attract other, they have to come to Ross to have the fun, I think.
I think another just one part about, having fun and kind of like de-stressing is one thing that I found out that surprised me is that recruiters come to the bus.
Yes.
or maybe not recruiters, people from companies that are recruiting that, either were on the bus previously or just simply are alumni of Ross. And at first that really stressed me out, but I think I went to a bus once and ended up talking to some of them. And I think it's really special that it kind of, because obviously recruiting is probably the most stressful part, definitely about at least MBA 1 that I can speak to. But I think knowing that the people that we're talking to have the shared experience and value it so much that they're even coming back while they're in town, also kind of fully integrates the whole experience, and it kind of like ties everything together and adds this fun element and, something that you can speak to when you're at, these events.
Kind of to this point, it sounds like obviously everybody has a lot of fond memories of the bus over the last few years. And I know one of my favorites was last year at Ohio State, which that rivalry far exceeded anything I ever experienced at USC. We had like ice luges, I think. I went to the stadium, I think, an hour and a half early and was in the nosebleeds for it.
We rushed the field?
Yes. Yeah. We did rush the field. I did make it onto the field for about 5 seconds and then realized there was not enough space for 110,000 people.
I was like, push me back up. Like, get me out of here.
Quickly realized that was a mistake.
Yeah. Would love to hear everybody's favorite memory of the bus so far, and we can cover both years or just this season, and I'm sure there would be an equal amount of content.
I have one that I have one queued up, I guess, I suppose. It's a bit of recency bias. So something that we do with the bus is different clubs will sponsor and kind of add a little flavor for that week. So I think the most recent one was that Oregon. And ISBA, the Indian Subcontinent Business Association, sponsored that one. Some of my roommates, one of my roommates was the DJ, and one of my roommates is the president of that club. And they showed up early to help decorate and really brought in a lot of flair. There were flags, there were sparklers at the end of the bus at the night because it was close to Diwali. So it was really special to have that flair, and the Bollywood music just It was a unique experience.
It really was. I think that was the first time Bollywood music was played at the bus in my 1.5 years or so here.
It was electric.
And it was electrifying.
Right. That's something we've been trying to do, is mix up the music and have more flares.
And shout out to Rohit for being such a good DJ.
Coming up as Disso, but I was like, Ro, we got to tap you in.
We got to get in on this one.
I think one of my favorite memories was the USC game. And so
That's devastating.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, Mark. Plug your ears. I don't know what to tell you. But I had a shift. I had the very first shift for cup sales at the post bus. And so I ended up having to leave the game a little early. And at first I was, once I realized it was a good game, I was like, oh, kind of a bummer, whatever, I have to leave the game. But once I got to the bus, I didn't realize at the time that we had a TV that was plugged into the game. And so there were several people there. There were probably like 30 people there. And so as we were watching the game, we can hear the noise coming from the stadium. And so we could kind of tell what was going to happen based off of like the cheers. And so as we're watching the game, we realize it's kind of a nail biter, and we're all standing there. And then we hear the cheers coming from the stadium, and we all start screaming, and we were like, oh my gosh, like we won. And then we were all like, you know, because obviously there was like 30-second lag on the TV. So then we all stopped. We were like, okay, let's watch it happen. Let's watch it happen. Let's watch it happen. And then we saw, you know, the touchdown, and we were like, yeah. And like everyone's screaming, and I like filmed it because I knew it was going to be awesome. And so, you know, I think even though I had to leave the game early, I think being at the bus and watching it there was honestly just as special and like very funny, just hearing the cheers coming from the stadium. And even though we knew it was going to happen, it didn't feel like it had spoiled anything, because it was still really special to just like be there and cheer with the rest of my classmates.
I guess my memory is more general. It's not like one specific moment, but I think it's this theme about meeting like your friends' friends, your friends' family, and then and also like having your visitors come. It was one of the things that I was really excited about going to Ross, is that it was in the Midwest, and I'm from the Midwest originally, so my family and friends from my prior life are closer to here than they would have been at other schools that I would have considered. So, you know, my sister came, my friends from Chicago came, my friends from Minnesota have been here, and then I've met like, you know, my friends' parents, and I've helped them do a cake stand, or like Mark, I met your friend from DC, which was a lot of fun. So it's cool when there can be one event that can bring together a lot of people from like different areas of your life. You know, that's a cool thing when that happens, and it doesn't always happen. So the bus kind of facilitates that.
I remember I had a friend from back home come for the MSU game, and I remember walking up to the bus with him and being like, oh, this is so weird. Like these two spheres of my life. Because, especially
Worlds
the first,
colliding.
yeah, especially because the first few months, like you're kind of in this NBA bubble, and you don't really have time to like go. I mean, at least I didn't really have time to like go home or anything. And so I think he was the first friend that I had brought to the bus. And so like, I knew he would meet the most people. And so, I just walking in, I was like, oh, this is so weird. Like that, we're such good friends. And I feel like I've formed so many strong bonds, again, just in the first couple months here, that it felt weird that he didn't know my friends here, And so it was, so that's really special. My mom's coming to the Northwestern game, so very excited about that.
I can't wait.
The Northwestern suite, it's bittersweet because that's like our last bus as NBA 2s. And so, I don't know, you might see some tears on my behest.
Oh. Wow.
I mean, it's evident how much teamwork goes into putting up the bus every football Saturday, which probably means that choosing the right people for the board and the right people applying to join the board might also be a part of it. Like, what do you guys look for when you're going through applicants? What do you want to tell prospective students who may want to be on the bus board in the future?
I can take a stab initially, just like off the cuff. Like what we look for in the applications is effort and fun. Like, okay, like, is this somebody that I can vibe with? Did they actually take the time to fill out the application and put thought into it? There's no one thing you're looking for, but there's definitely a vibe check from, like, we send out a presentation essentially that people fill out, and it's things like goofy photo and like, what does bus mean to you? And like, again, I did not know what the bus was, so I just put a bunch of like pictures of me on random buses that I happen to have, like from like weddings. Yeah.
I think what I would add is just having like a real desire just to contribute to the community here. Again, like we said, this is a really important space for like the entire community, whether you love football, whether you don't love football, to just be together and to meet people and to expand your circle. And so the people who put on the bus, I think, have that in mind, because sometimes it's not super fun when I'm like waking up at 8 a.m. to go pick up 25 kegs. Like, I don't know, or maybe 17 kegs. I don't know.
Yeah, dial that back. Dial that back. We're not that crazy.
We're not that crazy. I swear we could like take that one out. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it takes work, as does everything. But again, I think to Tyler's point, this is students are doing this for other students because we want to have a community and culture where everyone's welcome and everybody can have fun and be together. So I think if you don't have that mindset, it probably wouldn't be a great fit.
Yeah. When we were putting this script together, one of the things actually Vashish called out was we also want listeners to know that this doesn't mean that Ross is only a place for extroverts. So like bus and Ross is truly a place for anyone. And it's not important to be like extroverted or to be there at every single bus. It's just to want to be a part of the community in one way or another. So when you were saying that, I just thought about that. Cool. Guys, this was an amazing discussion on bus, but we are now going to switch gears to Risky. Brian, you're part of Risky Business, Ross's very own band. And we'd love to know more about your experience. Maybe to get us started, if you could tell our listeners what Risky is, if they haven't heard of it before. And if you know anything about the history, similar to how we spoke about the bus, like how did it start? What are the roots?
Yeah, sure. So Risky Business is Ross's very own MBA student-led band. So similar to the bus, the coordination, all of the logistics, most of the instruments and amplification, it was bought by students. It's taken care of by students. I don't think there's any other band at any other business school.
That's what we thought.
Yeah, so it makes Risky super, super special. Me being an MBA 1, I'm like kind of murky on the history. I don't think it's that old. I want to say like maybe 15-ish years. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's so awesome to make music with your classmates, colleagues, and similar to what Macey said, to meet people outside of your section that you wouldn't normally ever interact with. And it's a lot of work too. Like, I am no stranger to music because that is my background, professional background, prior to coming to Ross, professional opera singer and performer. Oh. So like, I like being on stage and I like the team sport that is music. But to be in an MBA program and do it, holy shit, is a huge commitment because you're adjusting to school in your first term. You begin recruiting and then Risky rehearsals. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, but it is Sunday night from 6 to 10 p.m.
Oh my God.
And you have to also account for setup prior to the 6 p.m. start and then takedown afterwards. So like, give or take, it's probably around a 5-hour commitment on Sunday evening, which, like it is hard work. Just like, I'm sure it sucks to wake up in the morning for the bus or like to clean up afterwards, but it's so rewarding at the end of the day because I don't know, like I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in the MBA like black hole of, oh my God, I'm so busy, or like, yikes, I don't know what to do to like relieve my stress or anxiety. And it's just so fun to skrelt into a mic with your friends. Yeah.
One of the unique things of Risky too is that partners can join and play, right? And they can be on the exact.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's mostly run by MBAs, full-time MBAs, but I would say half of the band consists of partners. And
wow,
we wouldn't function without the partners. Like, shout out to all the partners that are part of Risky. We wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like, Ross does a really good job of incorporating, we call it Section 6, which is the partners. And it's like, we love getting to know them. And I think that like, that is a unique Ross thing as well, like as far as like folding them in. And I think really including them, we have a club called PCAR. So, and they actually host a bus. And then Javi, I think, is on Risky.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Javi's a bus DJ and a Risky singer.
He's a Risky guitarist and bassist. He's a great DJ. Oh my God.
Yeah. So.
Shout out Ryan Swope.
Oh yeah.
Awesome electric guitar guy.
My gosh. Ryan, like on our first Risky concert, Back to Business, he slayed that Michael Jackson Beat It guitar solo. Just the fingers of a god.
He's gonna love that.
Okay, that's gonna be easily my favorite cut from this episode. That was incredible.
That goes in the video.
Yeah.
Now I'm really looking forward to Rock the Holidays.
Yeah. So I guess I can talk a little bit about like how we program the set list.
Yeah.
So all of the bandmates, we will submit our songs three song suggestions that we want on the set list, and then I haven't bid for courses yet, but I'm assuming it's kind of like bidding for courses where like everybody sees the list of songs that have been suggested, and then we all vote and bid for the songs we want on the set list. And so that's how the set list is composed. So this is a really fun one. Of course, there's going to be a few holiday songs because it's Rock the Holidays.
I will be so upset if Mariah Carey is not on that playlist.
I guess you got to come to see if she's defrosted and on stage with us.
She's already defrosting in my house.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's going to be a great concert. I think it's December 6th, so right before finals week, which shout out to the Ross professors for giving us all take-home finals. Oh my God. So lucky. But yeah, just to go back to like the risky and the family aspect of it, like music making is really awesome. Like it's super bonding. It's a team sport. And like, you know, there's challenges in the team sport because you're trying to coordinate playing this song with like 4 other instrumentalists and probably 1 or 2 other singers who are like singing backup vocal. And there's hardship to get a song to performance level. Like there's kinks to learn. Maybe the bassist has a really hard bass part. Maybe the drum part is really hard, or maybe the backup vocals are really tough. And so just going through that challenge of figuring out how do we make this work? How do we make this performance ready? And also like, how do we get that magic of like, oh, this is right. This is electric. That's how we know this is performance ready. It's that magic that's tied us all into each other. So much kudos go to our band director, Dan Blaine, for like really bringing the team together, like giving such constructive feedback when we're rehearsing. Kevin Kumar Suting and Sweta as the co-presidents for just being real team leaders. Yeah, it's been such a joy to work with them.
Is the entire team for Risky, does everybody like play and perform, or are there people who are just kind of like tech and like band management type roles?
Yeah, it's a good question. Everybody in Risky plays and performs at least one instrument. And there's a few of us that also have board positions now. Like I'm assistant vocal lead and assistant marketing director, and one of the other singers, Kavya, she is assistant, I think, operations person. So she helps out a lot with logistics and technical and operations stuff. So yeah, everybody's going to be on stage at a certain point. And going back to your point about introverts and how Ross is a place not just for extroverts, I found in my professional experience in theater, a lot of people that perform are introverts. You know, like it's an opportunity for them to get on stage and express what is like inside. And I don't know, like to go back to the idea of like fun and that keeps you youthful, I feel like having a sense of childlike wonder and play in life and on stage, that also is one of the secrets to youth.
Yeah. I was thinking about Follies, which is the comedy showcase that's happens in February. And Stu Carley is somebody who I did not know until Follies, and I was cast in a play with him. And like we went to Hopcat, and this man is like not really laughing, or like he's just like in his.
That man is stone faced. Can confirm.
Yeah, he's a vet. Now I'm really close with him, and I'm on Follies board with him. But at the time, I was just like, this is the guy that they cast to like go on stage, and then just turned it on. Like honestly, easily stole the show last year with his parts, like the facial expressions, the like voice animated. Like it was just like, wow, that came from that person. And so you just never know with the introverts. They're like some of the biggest joys and gems that you get to find at Ross. So.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
It's also really cool to see people in their element. That's something I think we all take a lot of joy. I mean, being part of the crowd for Risky shows, being part of the crowd at the bus, to see you guys on stage really showing what you love to do and being able to share that with us, I think is super special. And to our benefit as well, you got Risky throws hell of a party, and it's always a lot of fun and dancing, and especially some of the holiday vibes that come out. But to be able to share that experience, I think is really special.
Yeah, I think especially in business school, you know, obviously we do classes, and obviously there's a lot of partying going on, especially, you know, with all the football. But I think that, you know, being able to see what talents people have, like that I didn't expect. Like, for example, Tatiana Potter, shout out Section 3. She is a singer in Risky Business, and I never would have known that she, you know, is a singer. We for Section 3, we made a bunch of signs for her and like held them up, and like it's just really cool. And then, you know, when we showed up to Risky Business and we would hear someone singing, I remember I was with some of me and Brian's mutual friends, and we would be talking, and then we'd hear, and we'd be, oh, that's Brian. Oh my God, that's Brian. And like running to go see. So it's just really special to see people, you know, getting to know people outside of just kind of the elements of business school, right? Like I think it really helps to make sure that, you know, you don't, the sides of people that you see are not pigeonholed to classes and, you know, like partying, basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is a joy to get to know everybody at school outside of their element and outside of school, whether that's through Risky, whether that's through something super social like the bus. And so like Tati is such an amazing human being, and wow, what a golden voice. It's like very Dua Lipa-y to me in the sense that it's so deep and so rich. And you know, she is the sweetest human being, one of the sweetest human beings ever. She has helped me so much in Risky rehearsal with school, like with recruiting help. She's an econ wizard, so
she's a teacher.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I met her as an academic chair. I was like, ooh, she gets it. She understands what's going on right now.
Academic chair. She's plugged in.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, I'm so happy that Ross has something like Risky, and for any prospective student out there, if you are considering Ross, you are in for such a treat, not just with Risky, with like every other organization here. There is a place for you. Come in with an open mind, an open heart, and I think you're going to surprise yourself with who you connect with and who you find as your future family.
Brian, we need a soundbite, a vocal sampling.
Oh, yes.
Give us a snack.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Let's go.
Wow, okay.
We got JT in the background here putting Brian on
What
cadence.
songs are you wanting to put forth for the holiday show?
You know, so the holiday show is set, and I can't reveal the set list, but I really want to submit a Queen song for our Valentine's Day show, because we got to capitalize on the Swope's amazing fingers and the rest of the band.
I'm not going to take my eyes off his fingers.
Speaking of choosing songs, one thing I think we haven't brought up yet is that even if you're not in the band, you can still join Risky Business, the group.
Oh.
And if you join and, you have an opportunity to request songs and kind of have some input on the set list as well. So it's not even just, obviously the Risky Business shows bring people together, but for people who maybe don't feel comfortable performing or don't play an instrument, they can still kind of be involved in that way.
Yeah, no, Rachel, thank you so much. What Rachel is mentioning is the Risky Business fan club. So if you join the fan club, you get a season pass to all of our shows, and you have the privilege of requesting songs for the set list, future set lists. As well.
I have a very distinct memory of watching you sing Watermelon.
Yeah, it was super fun. Super, super fun. And that was when I realized what a high quality band we have, because not just Ryan, but like our drummers, Patrick and Kevin and Yoni, are so great, so good. Javi is amazing at the guitar. Yeah, it's a really, really amazing time.
I think one of the things that amazed me about that show for the first one when we came back to school was just how quickly you were able to like show up to campus and then with like 6-8 weeks be like, yep, we've got Watermelon Sugar, we've got Take On Me, like locked in. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
So, like there was a question about what was your initiation process, if any, for business. And I guess like the show itself was an initiation process, because that rehearsal schedule is so challenging to balance doing homework and recruiting. And so I don't know if you guys feel this way at the bus. Like for Risky rehearsals, there's a certain point where like it just feels like it's a mess and we're not going to pull it together. But eventually, somehow, things magically pull itself together by show day. And so what you saw was the culmination of all that work of like cleaning up the mess, and like finally it fit together for the show.
So with a show every quarter, it sounds like you guys probably never stop rehearsing. That means a lot of time spent together. So in case of Risky, the talent is definitely a part of it. But is there anything else that the team looks for when you're looking to bring new people on board every year? Any traditions that are specific to board that you could share with this crew?
Yeah, so I'll start with what the band looks for in other bandmates. It's talent and technical ability is definitely like there's a bar that you have to meet or exceed. But I think more importantly, it's how you interact with the other bandmates. Because if you are not, I guess like I'm going to say team player, but like if you don't vibe with the band and like you can't roll with the energy of the song or like where it's going, or just play off of other people's skills or vibe that's happening, you're not going to get accepted into the team. So I think they've done a really good job at picking band members this year. I know Risky was huge last year. So I think it was like 28 total band members. And this year it's like 18, 17. Yeah. So it's a much smaller band, much more intimate vibe. Are there any traditions? Yeah, there is a team like huddle and handshake we do before shows, which is really sweet.
Is it a secret handshake?
It's not really like palms out, like energy to each other, like pumping each other up. So yeah, a little bit of a secret.
Okay. The energy, I think, is the secret part. That's what matters.
Absolutely. Yeah, the secret sauce.
We're going to take a short break here to hear a word from our sponsors, but we'll be right back right after that message.
This episode is sponsored by the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. Through our podcast, you can connect with the people and experiences that define the Ross way. Check out our other podcasts, such as Working for the Weekend, an exploration of the part-time MBA experience, Business and Society, a business podcast with award-winning Michigan Ross faculty, and Down to Business, a new interview series with Ross alum in the C-suite, hosted by Dean Sharon Matusik. All podcasts can be found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome back. The last segment of our show here is going to discuss MBSA, which I don't actually know what it stands for, but I do know that they sponsor happy hours every Thursday night for the MBAs. And so Tyler has joined us to discuss MBSA. And so we'll kick off with some questions for you. Tyler, you've organized a bunch of nights at Skeeps. We obviously had winter formal last year. We'll get started with Skeeps and kind of like the day-to-day of MBSA. Why is this like such a foundational component of Ross? Like, the bus gets the same level of attention as Skeeps does. So curious why that became the case.
Honestly, from what I've learned from the previous presidents is it was just the best way to kind of end a week. We all have a future to look forward to, and that puts a lot of stress on our plates between going to class and then thinking about when your next recruiting event is. Am I going to get the job interview? What do I have to do to prep? Am I going to have an offer in September, or is it going to be just-in-time recruiting in April? And there's no end date to almost any of this. There's always an assignment to do. There's always an application to send. There's always a coffee chat to schedule. But having that kind of end of the week, Thursday night at Skeeps, is that kind of highlight at the end to just relax and kick back. Hey, we know we just went through a gauntlet for 4 days throughout the week. We know we have a busy weekend ahead of us, but just to take that step back and really enjoy the community that we have at Ross is kind of a special place to have and be at on like a Thursday afternoon. It's funny, we talked about community, and not once did we talk about network yet. Because I think that's something that makes Ross special, is that we're not here as a transactional component, like, hey, you're good for me for my future. This is something I'm going to tap on later. You're good for me because you're a person I want to be in touch with, and you're part of my community. And I think events like these, like Skeeps every Thursday, the bus, risky shows, it gives you that outlet that you never know what's going to happen. I think that's my favorite part, is the randomness. I mean, last night I had a 30-minute conversation with someone I've had 3 classes with, but never had a single word spoken to him. He's an international student, learned about his family, his past, what he's looking for in the future. If we're not in any of the same groups that run in the same circles together, but everyone is always welcome at Skeeps or the bus or risky shows, things like that. I think that's what makes things like this special. And to have that opportunity every week is awesome, because you never know how the night's going to go.
And backing this up a little bit for our listeners, can you explain what Skeeps is and the actual tradition associated with it? I realize that was an oversight.
Yes. So Skeeps is short for scorekeepers, which I found that out way too late. However,
you literally went to school here.
Yeah, but it is a bar in town that is notorious for undergrads. However, we take it over every Thursday from 7 until around 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and it is a $10 cover, or if you're a member of the association, you have a free entry, and it's an open tab until the tab runs out. So it's a place that you can just go, get a couple of drinks, and network and talk with a bunch of friends.
Build community, not network.
Community, yes.
And then, I don't know if we covered this, what does MBSA stand for?
So this is actually a hot topic, because we found out earlier this year it used to be called Michigan Business Student Association.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not what it is?
Well, so we've been calling it's for the last 4 years, it was Michigan Business Social Association.
What?
But when we had to transition the credit card and the bank account over from last presidents to this presidents, we found the old documentation from when it started in 2013, that on all of our documentation, it was Student Association. So all of our documents, legal documents, have a different name than all of our like normal documentation. And so we had to go through this whole process to rebrand all of our legal documentation to be the Michigan Business Social Association.
I had no idea that was a hot topic. Coming out of the woodwork. To the topic of randomness, any really unexpected ones that popped out of Skeeps for you?
I think it's just the fact that you never know where the night's going to take you. There's plenty of nights where you go have 2 drinks and be like, hey, I got a lot of work tomorrow. It's been a busy week. I want to go veg out on the couch and watch, in my case, Thursday Night Football. There's times that you go, you don't drink, but you just want to see some friends. And then there's times where you go, you have 3 beers and you're like, oh, this is going to get off the rails pretty fast.
It's one of those nights.
It's one of those nights. And then it's 4 a.m. and you're in your friend's apartment just talking about the randomness of life and the meaning of the pursuit of happiness and everything else.
Yeah, and I guess in that way, like, I used to live in New York City prior to coming to Ross, and Skeeps is very New York to me in the sense that you can start there and then your night can go in a million different directions. Yeah.
And just the opportunity, because as someone who's been at big universities and stuff, there's always little pockets that form, friend groups, invitations, birthday parties, and things like that. Mm-hmm. There's always a great time and a place for that. If that's what you want to do, 100%, like, that's your prerogative. But there's also something unique about having that open space that you don't need to invite. I'm going to walk to Skeeps by myself that night because I know that I'm going to see people there I'm going to want to talk to. And there's other people who do the same. And it's just kind of an open opportunity to have that social environment, but also that community building environment. Mm-hmm.
The other thing I know MBSA is responsible for organizing is the winter formal every year. I know a formal is not necessarily unique to Ross. Most schools have one, but at the same time, it's something we all look forward to. Jan 25th, it's coming up. So what do we have to say about that? What are you looking forward to? What can the students expect this year? And what goes on behind the scenes to put this together?
Yeah, formal is my favorite event, partially because I helped put it on last year. But it's insane to think how much goes into just one event, and also how much money it costs will astound you.
Oh, I'm deeply aware.
I can't divulge that information, but there's a reason the ticket prices are what they are. But formal is an adult prom. It's kind of a time to kind of take a step back and kind of relive the glory days a little bit, get dressed up and gussied up. We all look professional for all of our recruiting events and stuff, but some people really went out last year and looked phenomenal. And then you go to downtown Detroit, which is something I feel like a lot of Ross students don't take advantage of, that we're only 45 minutes from a decently major city.
That's true.
And we go to one of the most iconic venues in downtown Detroit with the Fillmore. It's right in the heart of the city, right across from Comerica Park, real historic, very beautiful. And we have the place to ourselves. It's also the largest event of the year. Last year, we had a cap sales at 700.
Holy cow.
There's 800 students at this school, with partners included and whatnot, but we just estimated 80% of the class was there. There's people that I never saw before and saw them come to these events because it isn't normal. It's once a year that we can kind of all show up and show out.
I will be buying a brand new tuxedo jacket for it, to be clear, this year.
Yeah, so planning is a lot of work. Thankfully, we have, I think everyone does a pretty decent job of delegating but bringing on very capable co-presidents and chairmen. So we try to delegate as much as possible to them, and that takes a lot of load off of me and Michaela, but putting our input in when we need it. Otherwise, it's kind of ready to rock. Right now, we're a lot ahead of what we were last year, and which is very nice. Actually, I think there's a meeting going on as we speak to discuss all of the changes and some of the decisions to be made.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That'll be rad. I am very much looking forward to it. I know formal last year was so electric. Kind of pivoting off of winter formal, I'm looking forward to something that all of the MBA 2s are extremely excited about is disorientation, which I think maybe not necessarily unique to Ross, but the way that Ross does it, I think, is very unique. If you want to tell the folks about what the disorientation plan is this year.
Yeah, we kind of always refer to it as diso, but then when people really understand disorientation, it kind of clicks. Everyone kind of has syllabus week in undergrad or orientation week. Well, we disorient as our going away party. So it's basically the best of what Ross has to offer. So we have our last risky show, we have the last bus, last Skeeps, and then we have a couple fun ones that are kind of unique just to that week, such as a Follies Roast, which I am going to be scared but excited for to see what comes out.
Be very afraid.
So you can put your name up and get roasted by the best comedic minds at Ross. And then there's just a specific party for NBA 2s only as just kind of a last hurrah, along with the bar crawl. And that is kind of just the hallmark of the year. Last year was awesome as an NBA 1 to kind of see it, but it was really cool because you got to see how special it was for the 2s. For the NBA 1s, it's a fun last hurrah before going off and spending your summer as a management consultant at Green Dot, Deloitte, or
Daddy D.
Oh, thanks, man.
Daddy D. Or in my case, working for just a random company in corporate strategy. But for the NBA 2s, it really is the end of an era. You took 2 years out of your life to kind of go better yourself and have a bunch of amazing experiences. And that was kind of the last time everyone is in the same vicinity as each other. It's about 5 or 6 days long, so it's a gauntlet, but it's where a lot of memories are made and also just kind of a coming together. And it takes a lot of work, which Macey can kind of speak to because she did a lot of it. Her and Karine really showed up last year and helped put on all of the amazing events.
Yeah. We've already started planning Diso this year. We had a meeting last night about it. We're going to do a little bit of mixing it up. I think maybe bring back NBA games and have like the sections with NBA 1 and 2s battle royale against each other.
Maybe not battle royale because when we did our NBA games, I think 2 people tore ACLs. So maybe not that.
They really get into it.
Maybe less contact sports.
But there's always chance, like with any of these events, to put our flair on it. I think we're trying to do a couple things at Formal, hopefully, that are a little different than last year. I know you guys changed things at the bus. I think it's just trying to put your mark on improvement. And I'm excited to see what you guys come up with because you guys have some very creative minds on that team, and there's a lot to be done. Yeah, we just brainstormed what the theme for live night is, and I'm very excited for the theme. And then last year, Karine and I were like referees or traffic controllers for the bar crawl, which got really
rowdy.
Really rowdy. That's a great way of putting it, Eric. Thanks.
Alrighty. Kind of in the same vein as Disorientation, we'll end up wrapping our episode here. Business Beyond Usual is brought to you by the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. Today's episode was produced by myself, Mark O'Connell, and Aishwarya Dhume, executive producers of BBU, who you'll hear from again over the course of this year, in addition to Vashish Sai, who did the background work to make this happen. Special thank you to JT, who is always here in a standby of the show, as well as Jonah Brockman and Mads Henke, who do the editing for the material. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, go blue, and this is Business Beyond Usual.
Go blue!
Go blue!